Ma'am, first I would like to give a good news that we journalists, at least in the New Indian Express, we have a free hand right now to do stories on climate change. We have the directions from the highest authority. So, having said that, um, journalists are on their own. We have to get trained by ourselves. We have to learn by going to the field. That's how you did it. That's how we are doing, and we expect the next generation of journalists to do the same because nobody has the time because there are so many issues. One person is handling so many beats, and when people want to know more about who is abusing whom, which political party is hurling abuse against whom, and they are interested in such kind of things. So obviously, we have to give space to them as well. Those issues. So somewhere, climate change stories are taking a backseat. There's no doubt about it. But again, see, I as a journalist, I went to the field like to know how Manjira is getting polluted. I started from Jinnaram industrial area, then I went to Gaddabotaram, and then I went through the how the water goes through the channels and it enters the lakes, and from there it enters the river Manjira from Patancheru till Sangareddy, Narsapur. So this is like a very big experience. Just one story, it teaches you many things. And right now, see, we have to learn by ourselves. See, I work mostly in the rural areas. So there is one thing which struck me in 2017. Okay, that was when Kalvakurti lift irrigation scheme was completed and water has been given in released in Nagar Karnool, those areas, some parts of Gadwal district. What I observed was that mirchi crop was devastated. Farmers used to cultivate mirchi on a large scale in these areas. But due to the irrigation provision of extension of irrigation, it created a certain microenvironment in that particular cut that a fungal infestation happened and farmers suffered heavily. Then I asked the farm, we have to approach the scientists, there's no doubt. So they were talking about how to deal with that disease or fungal infestation, but very few people actually knew that yeah, it's happening because of this climate change. I mean, it is man-induced, it's irrigation-induced, engineering-induced, and recently also in the floods we have seen in erstwhile Adlabad district what happened. So uh, we have to learn by ourselves. We have to keep reading, go to the spot. So these are the things. See, mangoes, delayed flowering in mangoes, delayed fruit setting, and how it is affecting the production yield. So it's happening because of climate change. We can see it. Even if we talk to a farmer, he'll tell us what's exactly happening. And we are seeing what's happening to the neem trees. Of course, we cannot say that it's because of climate change, but still, there could be some linkage which Nasima Reddy sir is talking about, which only experts can say. But there's this problem. See, we journalists are half knowledge people, we can say, because we are constant learners. We try to perfect it. But the scientists, there is, I mean, I call this the X factor emergency, which is in every institution, every department. So scientists are not accessible because there are many reasons. One thing is the X factor emergency, and the second thing, they have this feeling of jealousy between themselves. So if some junior level scientist gives us some knowledge, then his superior will issue some memo. These things are happening while reporting, and it is very difficult to reach the scientist. I mean, even if you go to the director, again he has some kind of pressure from somewhere. He cannot speak. So in this situation, I don't know how the we can build a knowledge base about climate change because everything is happening. People know it is happening. not from now. Since the 90s, our grandparents experienced it, severe droughts, and lakhs have been victimized in those times. Right now, it's happening, but it's like, okay, chalta, it's happening like that.
Very interesting.
And you know,
So, no, just to kind of explore a little more of what you said, and something which a lot of journalists face, a lot of people don't know about this fact. So that's why I wanted you to pause and perhaps explore this factor a little more about people not being on record. Now that's something which a regular journalists face on a regular basis, because journalism, especially print journalism, means that you need to have people on record on a particular issue, because you need to put a name to a fact, and that's the those are the unwritten rules of journalism, that you have to people have people on court. So however important a story it may be, the first thing a senior journalist would ask a junior journalist is, who do you have on record? Whose quote are you adding in this? Now, in that, do you think the scientific community, especially the civil society, must be able to come up with providing perspectives on climate change, which can link, for instance, what you are talking about, the chili farmers or the Adilabad floods, or the what we were saying about the mango issue, which really afflicted both the states of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh this season. So, do you think the civil society can help in any way in filling up that gap which journalists regularly face when reporting on these slightly scientific and also social, or rather agricultural issues, fundamentally rural issues?
civil societies, let us say Council for Green Revolution, it is doing its job. There are certain organizations, but journalists, the gap between journalists and such organizations needs to be bridged, and not just between these organizations, even with the administration and the academia, I don't know what's happening. Okay, they are coming up with, they are doing their research, but it's not reach farmers or the victims of climate change. So there has to be some mechanism to link all these sections. It has to happen. It had to happen long back. In any bureau, any journalist, if he or she or other writes a story, it becomes their own story, right? Then they will definitely have that responsibility of writing,
Following
the
up.
following.
Yeah.
They'll do it, anyways they'll do it, because it becomes your issue. But see, I'll give you an example, okay? Yesterday I read a story about a tribal woman. She was made the first tiger tracker in Kaval Tiger Reserve. So
Okay.
see, look at it as a spot or a story. A woman, a tribal woman, she became a tiger tracker. Wow, so empowering, right? So okay, there are so many things connected to it. You think in other terms, okay, one woman, that too tribal, becoming a tiger tracker, sensational, fine. How many tiger trackers are tribals? That is the next question we should ask, right? how
Yes.
how most of them are non-tribal and they're
Yes.
working in tribal area. And
Yes.
forest fires are the major reason
Yeah.
for they also contribute to climate change and see, why are forest fires happening? Is it man-made? I mean, there are both reasons. Natural causes are there, man-made causes are there. There's involvement of tribals in every aspect of protecting the forest is needed. Everybody says that, but you don't have them in the team.
Yeah.
So why the
So you are
team?
saying a follow-up story should be done on the number of tribals who are trackers, is it?
No, I'm saying you see from different angles.
Angles,
Why
yeah.
just from different angles? There is the forest fire issue, and
Yeah.
recently I've seen. I mean, last year I think so, that 4 or 5 tribals in Guatemala, they died in a forest fire. That was the first time I read something like that, because tribals have the indigenous knowledge about how to manage a wildfire, how to escape from it. So
Yes.
somewhere the indigenous knowledge is being lost. So
Right.
why is
Right.
that happening? Let it become another story. Is there any influence of the mainstream society which is killing their
Absolutely.
individual knowledge? That becomes a story. So there are so many things. Just one incident from one incident, we can draw so many stories.
So many
Not
stories.
exactly the follow-up in one line, but you
Yeah.
can write many things, right?
Yeah.
So there are
Thank you.
various views.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's fascinating. I think that's exactly what we do, right? When we are on the field, when we are sent for a particular story, you try to cover all the perspectives, because it's not easy for journalists to travel to the field. It's not easy for institutions to send people on the field. It costs money. So covering as many perspectives as possible is the best way to follow up on a story and keep it alive in the headlines. I hope that answers
I want to add
Jyotiji's.
one thing.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
I want to add one thing. There was this issue of uranium mining, which was going to take place in the Nallamala forest. So that's a big deal. So the entire society was against it, even celebrities entered. And now the issue is kept under the carpet. But many things are happening on the ground there. There are Chenchu hamlets which are being evacuated. I mean, they are convincing them by showing them money, right? So all these are even Kaval Tiger Reserve, some 5 villages have been evacuated. So these are all the follow-up stories they are giving us. We have to cut it
Yes,
to main thing.
yes.